We switched over to Amos. So we're going to look at Amos today. And there's more than one Amos lesson. Yeah, there's two Amos lessons. Then we're going to switch back to 2 Kings, 2 Chronicles. Then we're going to do Hosea for 3 times. Then we're going to do Jonah 2 times. Back to 2 Chronicles. Then we're going to do Micah 3 times. So we're going to be switching around quite a bit. So, okay, so what did we study last week? It's been a whole week, so it's been a little while. Yep. So who was Amaziah? King of Judah, yeah. And so the kingdom was divided after Solomon, right? It was divided into Israel and Judah. And yeah, he didn't do everything he was supposed to do. And I don't know, I have to think if you're a ruler or somebody with that much responsibility that the Lord really expects everything pretty much. Well, even from us, everything, but especially if you're a ruler with impacting so many other people. If you're allowing idolatry and you're allowing worshiping in the wrong places and all those things, it all means something for us to do, to follow the Lord's will, and we're going to see more about that today. So Amaziah, we should talk about this. So he was 25 years old when he began to reign, and then what happened when he started reigning? Decided to go into battle, look like. And so he hired the mercenaries, right? And he hired the mercenaries of Israel for 100 talents of silver for 100,000 mighty men. And then after that, there came a man of God to him saying, O king, let not the army of Israel go with thee, for the Lord is not with Israel, to wit, with all the children of Ephraim. So he said, what am I supposed to do? I already spent all this money. It's like, if you do, you're going to lose. And so what's the value of that? So anyway, it was a no-win situation. So he won the battle that he was intending to fight, but he lost a battle he didn't intend to fight, which was a fight at home. So if you say what's the moral of the whole thing is, you can't get ahead if you're trying to obey some of the things God wants you to do and not obey other things God wants you to do. I'm good enough, I obey these 3 things, and never mind about those other 10 things. It all matters, it all counts. So there's a good example of that, and a lot of things happen there that Amaziah did not intend. He also got a little bit arrogant, and that didn't help him, and that ended up resulting in the overthrowing of his country, and so it was bad. It's not going to get any better today. There's no looking up. You see chastisement, forgiveness, redemption. I think we're in the chastisement section of this book for our Sunday school. So we're going to see more about that today. Okay. All right. So before we start reading the book of Amos, what do we know about Amos? Yeah. Yeah, he's not written about anywhere else, right? And we know a little bit about Jonah, where Jonah was asked by God to go be a missionary, and he didn't want to, and he didn't do it. And Lord had him swallowed by a fish, and he ended up doing it anyway. We don't hear anything like that as far as any kind of a backstory on Amos. Uh, yeah, yeah, he was among the common people, right? And he was a southerner of Tekoa, which was 10 miles south of Jerusalem. So he was from the country. Burdened. Yeah, he was definitely burdened. And so he's from the country, and God asked him to give a message to God's people. And what was unique about him selecting Amos to do that? Yeah, he wasn't a Levite, right? He wasn't from the tribe of Levi. He wasn't a priest. He wasn't a scribe, Pharisee, whatever. He wasn't any of those things. Uh, mhm, yeah. In the past, he had used the Levites and the priest to follow the Lord's will, but it seems that they weren't doing it during this time. And so it looks like one reason he selected Amos. Amos looked like he was a sheep breeder. It said he might have been a master shepherd. And let's see what else. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. So, who would like to read Amos chapter 1, verses 1 and 2? First two verses, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate reading that. So, the words of Amos, who was from the herdsmen of Tekoa, which we don't know too much about that, which he saw concerning Israel in the days of Uzziah, the king of Judah, in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, the king of Israel. So that tells us the timing. And then it says 2 years before the earthquake. Does that seem like an unusual thing to throw in there? Mm-hmm. Do you have that reference there with you? Okay, well, that sounds like a good one for us to check out. Thank you, Brother Homer. So that was a pretty significant earthquake. And here in the writing of this says 2 years before the earthquake. So when we hear of an earthquake, what do we say about that? Anything we say about it? There was one in San Francisco. I think it happened like a month after Darrell and I were there. And the Bay Bridge, actually I think the top part came down on the bottom part of the Bay Bridge. But when we hear about an earthquake, what do we think about that? Yeah, End Times talks about having earthquakes. Yeah, that's right. And Brother Homer, you said catastrophe. Yeah, talk a little bit more about that. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah, it was right there. And around here, we're sitting on the New Madrid Fault, which you can go down in New Madrid and yeah, it's ready, right? So, Hope, what do you know about the sinkhole? So on the way to work, you drive there? Yeah. So your Honda Civic could have caused that? Yeah, it's all shut down. And so that looks like a man-caused thing if you look at the explanations they're making of the whole thing there. But when we see things like earthquakes or what about that tornado? You know, it's just up the street, up at the top of the street up here, and it took out houses and trees and all the rest of that on this side of Highway 70, on the other side of Highway 70. It hit the airport. There were chairs that were in the airport that were on the other corner, actually close to where I work, that were found over there afterwards. Don't we call those things an act of God? And it's because nobody's in control except for God. It's like there's a recognition that we don't control our earthquake. I mean, maybe, yeah. And when it happens, what are you going to do? When a house starts shaking and I don't know, I guess if you don't get out of it, it could fall right on top of you, right? Or if you're in a building. Uh, yeah, 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 yeah. There's bad ones, and so earthquakes are bad. And in this case, what's the significance of bringing this up in this context? Yeah, yeah, and I think the agenda of the people denying all those specific things, they're just denying there's a God. If you boil it down to the bottom line, they're just saying, yeah, there's no God. It's just Big Bang happened. Everything just happened overnight. Evolution, just took care of everything, and uh, that's an explanation, and it's convenient because there's no God in there anywhere that I have to worry about. Uh, obeying or worshiping or anything else. It just simplifies it, I guess, right? And so here it says 2 years before the earthquake, and I think all the rest of we're gonna see here could be connected to it as a result of what Amos is saying. And so then, and here in verse 2, and he said, the Lord will roar from Zion. So what does that mean? The Lord will roar. Yeah? And yeah, and a lion roars to intimidate its prey. And I grew up watching Tarzan. I don't have any. I mean, there's National Geographic whatever once in a while, and Wild Kingdom once in a while, and you'd see lions would roar or something, go after a zebra, whatever, and attack it. And so you know a little bit about it, but in the area where these people live, there's lions out there in the wild all the time. Yeah, it's going to get your attention. And so when a lion roars, does it usually mean, hey, I just want to let you know I'm leaving the area? Is that what a lion's roar usually means? Yeah, it's the opposite. I'm coming to get you. If you didn't start running yet, you might want to start running now, or doing something different than wherever you are, because this lion can see you. Over in Malaysia, where I worked, and there's lots of jungle around there, and we talked to the military guys we worked with because they had to do exercises going through the jungle so many days and all that stuff, and like survival training thing. And they have Bengal tigers in the jungle. That's where they live. They didn't bring them in. That's where they live. That's where they are. And so it could be possible you're just minding your own business, and there's a tiger right there, and may have a good day after that. So here is the Lord will roar from Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the habitations of the shepherds shall mourn. So why would shepherds mourn when they hear a lion? Yeah. Yeah, if you have a hungry lion, who's going to stop a hungry lion? Well, yeah, David. Okay. That's a good answer. But most of us, actually all the rest of us aren't David. And so for all the rest of us, if your name's not David, you're in trouble. If there's a lion and you have sheep and you're hearing this lion, and you don't even have to hear a lion close by. You can hear a lion far off. See, Mitchell and I were hunting up in Vandalia, deer hunting, and it was like no moon that night or whatever. And so he was off in a field close where I was, maybe, I don't know, a couple hundred yards away. And I was coming up through a creek bed or whatever. It was pretty deep, about 12 to 15 feet deep. And I was coming up out of it. And all of a sudden I heard this really loud shriek, which sounded like a lady screaming, which later off, hey, that's a bobcat. And I looked along the ground, and there were like maybe 6 or 7 sets of eyes close to the ground. So I thought, I wonder if that's little bobcat babies, and the bobcat mom is not too happy right now. And I only had like about a second to realize, what the situation was. So anyway, the shrieks of the bobcat, Mitchell was so nervous about it, he got inside the ground stand that he was sitting next to. He said, I don't know what that noise was, but I knew they weren't happy, and so I was getting in there. I didn't have any place to go, so I just moved pretty slowly and just kind of went around sideways, and Lord blessed me, because I asked the farmer about it. He said, yeah, most people get attacked in a situation like that, so Lord blessed me that day again. Can't even obviously keep track of how many times, but that was certainly a blessing. But when you hear an animal like that, uh, it's almost inevitable something's going to happen and it's not going to be good. And so it's a warning, right? That that roar from the Lord, that's a warning. And it's not a warning, hey, maybe I'm going to do something. That's not that kind of a warning. A lion doesn't roar unless something's going to happen. That's just not how it works. The habitations of the shepherds shall mourn. So it's not even just the shepherds themselves. It's basically all their stuff, all the sheep, any living anything, right? It could be birds, it could be cats, dogs, chickens, whatever, anything and everything from the living creation. And mm-hmm, yeah, and that's actually Amos's message here, is to get their attention because they haven't been paying attention to God at all. And so we're going to see a lot more about that. But these words that Amos is saying came from God to get the attention of all the people that he's speaking to, and how God works in ways we don't quite understand. I'm sure they were trying to figure all this out. Here's Amos, somebody we never saw or heard from before, telling us all of this. And, why is he here? What's going on? We thought everything was just fine. What's going on? What's happening here? And so let's go ahead and read. If we could, somebody could read verses 3, 4, and 5. Thank you, Sister Helen. So there's not that many words here. That's only 3 verses. If you're in Damascus and you're hearing this from somebody you don't even know who it is, uh, this is unusual. Thus saith the Lord. Who are you to tell me what the Lord says? You're not a priest. You're not any kind of a religious leader. Obviously, he was very brave to follow the Lord's will and to do this. For 3 transgressions of Damascus and for 4. So what's the significance of that? Mhm. Yeah. Okay. And from Moses' law, we know what's right and wrong. They knew at that time also. And you could disobey that one time and be penalized. And so he's not directing this towards an individual. He's directing this towards the people in Damascus. For 3 transgressions of Damascus and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof. What does this remind you of? Yeah, the Lord has grace. The Lord is forgiving of us when we do things the right way. But at some point, he just gives up on us. And if you look at Sodom and Gomorrah, yeah, yeah, you're right. He's telling them, okay, uh, you cross the line here, judgment's coming, with an expectation of either they're going to repent or just keep going. Yeah, 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 it's coming. And I will not turn away the punishment thereof. And so, yeah, that's kind of like my mom saying on a Tuesday, yeah, I told your dad what you did, and you're going to get spanking on Saturday. Something like that. It wasn't good. That was never good. I pretty much dreaded every one of those days. Um, and it says here, because they have threshed Gilead with threshing instruments of iron. And here it says, as far as the meaning of that, that they literally threshed and mangled the bodies of prisoners under heavily studded threshing sledges. So and I'm sure that's one of the things that they did, right? Not all the things that they did. And I will send fire into the house of Hazael, which shall devour the palaces of Ben-Hadad. So these are places that are defended, places that have guards, places that have soldiers, places that where uh, the yeah, yeah, this is a judgment on all of them. It says here, I'll break the bar of Damascus. And I guess when I looked that up, you think of the bar that is used to lock the gates of a city. Big metal bar that's locking the main gates so nobody goes in or out during certain times. That was just broken. And they were cut off from the plain of Avon, and him that holdeth the scepter. Well, the ones that hold the scepter are rulers. And the people of Syria shall go into captivity. And so this was not just, you're going to have a bad day. No, you're going to be conquered. You're going to be conquered, and all your stuff is either going to be ruined or taken or whatever, including you, yourself. That was just one country, Damascus. Let's look at the next one, verses 6, 7, and 8. Thank you, Sister Joanne. So, in these verses, they're talking about the Philistines. Have we seen anything about them in our studies before? Yeah, they're always fighting, aren't they? They're fighting them every single time they're fighting them. And in this case, he's talking about their transgressions. So I already looked at Damascus, and now we're looking at the Philistines. These are both countries that are not professed to be worshiping God or anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're still talking about that today. Yeah, so it never got resolved. Um, and so here it's talking about because they carried away captive the whole captivity to deliver them to Edom, which there it's talking about trafficking in slaves, where many Israelites were sold into slavery by Edom, who was their bitterest enemy. And so, because of all the things they did on that, they will send a fire on the wall of Gaza, which shall devour the palaces thereof, and I'll cut off the inhabitants, and him that holdeth the scepter will turn mine hand against them, and the remnant shall perish, saith the Lord God. So what's happening with Gaza today? Yeah, same thing. They never stopped fighting, right? They've been fighting this whole time. Yeah, descendants, right? It's descendants of those people, but yeah, yeah. But they're still Arabs. I mean, they're not Jewish people. So let's look at the next one. This is Tyre, so let's look at verses 9 through 12. Oh, sorry, 9 and 10. Thank you, Brother Homer. So the same kind of a warning for them, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom and remembered not the brotherly covenant. So way back when we were studying Solomon, when Solomon got all of the things he needed to build the palace, uh, where did he get that from? I guess David got the materials, but where did he get some of those materials from? Mm-hmm. And so part of that agreement was also that they weren't going to sell Hebrews into slavery, according to the notes that I've got here. But they had an agreement that lasted a long time, and then they violated that agreement. Okay, so let's look at the next one, 11 and 12. Okay, so more things happening there. And although a specific thing is mentioned there, it's probably the one that's the uh, is recognized as a major reason for their wickedness, but not the only reason. Because they did pursue his brother with a sword and did cast off all pity. His anger did tear perpetually and kept his wrath forever. And so they're just warring all the time. We see that still today, right? Just warring all the time. There's no end. And the Lord is saying enough. Okay, how about verses 13, 14, and 15? Thanks, Brother Mike. And so what about the Ammonites? Do we know much about them? Yeah, it's Lot's family. And in this case, it says they're ripping up the women with child of Gilead. So the people that they're conquering is not just the warriors, the men. Instead of enslaving the men and the children, they're actually killing the women, having babies, killing their babies, And we saw from, I think it was even last week, that the Lord is fine with us going to battle with someone, but we shouldn't kill all their families and everything else because they're not responsible. And so Moses' law says that. Now the Ammonites may say, well, we don't care about Moses' law, but obviously the Lord, it didn't just happen one time from what the Lord is saying here, because he's saying for 3 transgressions and for 4, so this is happening all the time. And the Lord has had enough. And at the end here in 15, and their king shall go into captivity, he and his princes together, saith the Lord. So they're going to be conquered. So everyone we've read about so far is not going to turn out very well. And so we've already looked at Damascus, the Philistines, Tyre, Edom, and Ammon. And now this one here was, the next one is Moab. So this is going to impact a lot of people. So if someone would read chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. So these nations were doing wicked things pretty much throughout all history, but here are some things specifically mentioned again, because he burned the bones of the king of Edom into lime. And so now he's going to send fire against Moab. He's going to devour the palaces. The people are going to die with a tumult, with shouting, and with a sound of trumpet. And so the sound of trumpet, back then when you heard a trumpet sound in a village or a city, was that a good sign when you heard a trumpet? Usually the sound of alarm. If you're going into battle, it obviously told everybody we're going to start the battle. But if you just heard it when you were out minding your own business, it meant something was going to happen. Either a battle or something was going to happen. And so, a tempest sound the trumpet sound is not a good sound. Yeah, the tornado sirens. That's this time of year. We hear that. We hear the sirens. We went to the basement of the building. I work in the tall black building next to the airport, and we went to there's a garage in the basement, and we went to that twice already. I think they went another time when I wasn't there because of the tornado sirens and all that stuff. And so, yeah, nobody was happy when we heard the tornado sirens. Yeah, it's pretty ominous to think that we have tornadoes. And I don't know if anybody has seen like northern part of St. Louis City, like Martin Luther King area, whatever. I had a funeral to go to in that area, and I don't know, it was like 2 out of 3 houses were still damaged from what happened a year ago. And so a lot of people still trying to figure out how to live and what to do, and it's just a huge thing. Okay, let's take a look at verses 4 and 5. Thank you, Sister Debbie. So something changed. Did y'all notice that? Something changed. Everything we've been reading up until now These are all the countries, and yeah, that was other people. And so if you were a Hebrew and you heard all these other things before now, you might say, "This is great news. We never expected this to happen. We were just over here doing our own thing, and here we are. The Lord's going to pronounce judgment on our enemies. We should celebrate. This is going to be great." But Amos keeps talking. There's more message to it. And in this case, for Judah, for 3 transgressions of Judah, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof. So you're going to be treated like everybody else, except because they have despised the law of the Lord. Who was the law of the Lord given to? Yeah, it was given to the Hebrews, right? And so they were God's chosen people. So here's God's chosen people disobeying God, going another direction, completely ignoring the Lord. They might be going through the motions, but they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And they certainly have not kept his commandments. And it says their lies caused them to err. And so the people that are responsible for teaching or being leaders aren't doing it right. The religious leaders aren't doing it right. Everybody's not doing it right. After which their fathers have walked. And so their forefathers had done it right. But I will send a fire upon Judah, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem. Well, if you're in Judah, everybody knows where Jerusalem is. There's no confusion about that. Everybody knows where the palace in Jerusalem is. And so this is a very specific thing. This would be like us being told, yeah, judgment on St. Louis, and Busch Stadium is going to get blown up. And well, everybody knows what that is. Everybody knows where it is. It's not the same thing as far as the meaning of the place, but they specifically knew what it was. They had been there. I mean, this is a place they would go. And so they were very well aware of what Amos was talking about. Okay, the next one, concerning Israel. If someone would like to read that. And this is a little bit longer one. If you would read through verse 16, 6 through 16. Thank you, Sister Joanne. So he's saying here that there's some very specific reasons because they didn't remember all the things God did for them. They're God's chosen people. God delivered them out of Egypt. He delivered them so many different times from when they went into the promised land to take the promised land. So many battles that they won because the Lord was with them. They've forgotten all those things. And so because of that, even the most brave of them will run away. And so the judgment here that the Lord is speaking of through Amos is a very, very serious one. And so, and here we are out of time already, and we got a lot left to go. So we have to do a little catching up next time. So if you get a chance, please read chapter 3 and 4. Maybe you did already. We'll try to go through those fairly quickly next time when we get together. And then actually, I think next time we're going to go through the rest of Amos. So that's all the way through chapter 9. There's a lot of stuff in there. So, all right, anything else? Some of you all did a great job participating in reading. Some of you get extra credit